welcome back for the 10th episode of Embrace You Hot Topics in Weight Loss. I am so excited that you're here. And if it is your return, welcome back. If it's your first time being here, welcome. For those of you who may or may not know, Embrace You is your safe space to ask questions and get individualized facts about weight loss as well as your feelings. And I'm your host, Dr. Sylvia. I am your integrative bariatrician, best-selling author, and founder of Embrace You Weight and Wellness, where we help people stop obsessing over the scale, trying to do what everybody else does so you can live lighter in body, mind, and spirit. So I am so excited to see people checking in from all over the world. Oh my goodness, Bungoma, welcome. Let us know as you come in where you're checking in from. I'm here based in the DC metro area. If I'm looking a little tan, I just got back from Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, checking out retreat sites. So I am feeling good and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone here. Good afternoon and welcome. And today's going to be a special show, not just because it's the 10th one, not just because I have my beet smoothie on deck, but it is a special one because I have some of my super friends from the Overcoming Obesity Club. I'm so excited. So last episode, we had the men, we had Coach Brandon and Coach Rick. So if it is Men's Health Month, so if you didn't check out that episode, the men were holding it down and they set the tempo for going into this month. So if you don't think that you can't sustain it or you're having difficulty talking about your wellness or getting on track and staying on track, that last episode will really help you get motivated. But today, the ladies are in the house. So I have Dr. Keena Peppers and Dr. Angela Clack. And unfortunately, Dr. L is out sick today, but just good to see you ladies here. And they, the Overcoming Obesity Club, we're a group of people from different professions who have all personally gone on our own weight loss term wellness gain journey. And what we found is there is no one size fits all way to do it. So we have learned to personalize it. So I was like, today for this topic, which is one of my favorites, which is talking about food relationships. And if you don't know about food relationships, we're going to clarify what that is. Because a lot of people, they just start talking about like a diet, right? Like, what am I supposed to eat? What can I eat? But they never think about why did they eat or how the foods make you feel. And really, to me, it's like a relationship. Like some foods, we used to go together really well, but then sometimes it's time to break up. We just got to break up. So like breaking up and then starting new relationships. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And then in the end, we always have a mindset shift, which is release. I can't. And the mindset shift today is like releasing. I can't eat that. Because I hear people say that all the time. I can't eat that. I shouldn't eat that. I have to eat that. We're going to release all that nonsense, right? And embrace, I can eat nourishing foods. I can develop a healthy relationship with my food. So that's what we're talking about today. So I am so excited. I'm going to let Dr. Angela say hello to the group and just let us know who you are and why you're excited about this topic. And then Dr. Keena will say hi to the group.
Absolutely. Good day, everybody. I don't know what time it is where you are. So I am in New Jersey, so it's a little afternoon here, EST. I am a licensed mental health professional. I have a private practice and I service New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Primarily, I work with Black women, brown and Black women, to help them be their best selves, which includes a holistic approach. So I integrate mind, body, soul, and spirit, because what you feed the mind also impacts the body. What you feed the body impacts the mind. And I've been on my personal weight loss transformation, my weight maintenance transformation since 2019. The Overcome Obesity Club with Dr. Sylvia, Dr. Keena, Dr. Flowers, and all the gentlemen. And we've been together for so many years. We're instrumental in building a community of support, which has helped me to, and continues to this day to help me maintain, even when I feel stuck in those moments where I feel like the relationship I had with food is trying to come back. It's trying to, I broke up with it and it's trying to get back with me. So I'm constantly working on my mindset. Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, Laverne.
I love it, Dr. Angela. And you have been so instrumental too. And I'm so glad we connected on this journey. Can't wait to hear share, the tips you share. And then my girl, Dr. Keena Peppers. Dr. Keena, please tell people who you are and why you're excited about this topic today on food relationships.
Yes, hello everybody. I am so excited to be here. It's always wonderful being with these two young ladies. I am Dr. Keena. I'm your board certified OBGYN best-selling author, and I am the CEO of All In Phenomenally. And the reason why this weight loss journey that I've had is so significant was because at some point I had gained 70 pounds being on massive doses of steroids and lost my mind trying to figure out what I could not eat because I wanted to eat everything. However, this topic today is going to be so good. So many nuggets. And I'm also in the group with Dr. Sylvia. And we love doing the clubhouse room because we have the opportunity to engage with other people that are also on weight loss journeys and answer questions and put in what happened to us because you never know who needs to hear your testimony. So I'm excited about being here today and I want to get started.
I know, right? Let's get this conversation started. All right, all right. Welcome, everyone. I see Cooking Healthy on Purpose. Yes, I see Laverne. I see King Noah, Gerard. Welcome, everyone. We're so excited to have you. Now, as we go into the main topic today, which is food relationships, let me set the stage a little bit, okay? So when we talk about weight loss and food, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Go ahead, type it in the chat. What's the first word that comes to mind? Dr. Angela, Dr. Keena, what's the first word that comes to mind? Weight loss and
Diet.
food.
Diet.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Let's just put
Diet.
it out there. We talk about the D word. Anytime, a matter of fact, when people find out what I do, I say, oh, I'm an integrative obesity specialist. I focus on body, mind, spirit, weight loss, and wellness. Then they're like, oh, let me tell you about this diet. Girl, we were in Florida at a plant-based restaurant. The waiter can be like, what do you think about the carnivore diet? I was like, brother, aren't you working here at the plant-based? You know, that's just but I appreciated that he felt like he could be real with me, that, you know, because that's what Embrace You is about, being real. You work at the plant-based restaurant, but you think about carnivore diet. Like, let's talk about it, right? So, and that's what it is. Yes, restriction, diet. So, like, all of these words. And so, really, that is the problem with this, is that we have developed a culture that teaches us that we can't really trust ourselves when it comes to food. The problem with dieting, the problem with restriction, and I know all about it. I mean, I've gone through my own 60-pound weight loss journey, maintained for about 8 years. I dieted off and on for 17 years. And even through working with people, healing their relationships with food and everything, what I find is that two things happen. When you tell grown folks they can't eat something, it makes them want to eat it, right? And then that's what sets you up for this yo-yo dieting of going back and forth, trying this, trying that. And then what I really find, another word, we're going to get real deep and touchy feely, is you break the trust with yourself. I don't know if I can eat that. I don't trust I can eat it. And so it's really try to healing that. And so one of the things that I really want people to get out of our time together today is really some keys to, okay, why do I eat certain foods? And how do I know these foods are doing me wrong, so to speak, that so that you can fall back and so you can trust yourself again and fall in love with it. Now, it's a process. It took me about 2 years, 8 years later. I'm still, Keena and I were just talking this morning about like how we still finding these foods that just don't do us right, and that we have to break up with. So like it is a journey, it is a process, but at least we can get you started wherever you are in your journey to think a little bit more about it. Is that okay with y'all? Is this too deep? Y'all, everybody,
definitely.
All righty. Well, welcome back, Ursuline. Welcome back, Chinere. Good to see you. So many people. So let's talk a little bit about getting to the why. So, Dr. Keena, because you started us off this morning. So what's a food that you have loved, that you used to love, and you had to let go because it was doing you wrong on your journey?
Okay, well, one of them I would say is cabbage.
Oh,
And
What?
that's what we were just talking
But
about.
that's healthy. Tell us more.
No, it's like it's something, it's kind of like, over time as you eat things, then they don't agree with your stomach. So
Mm,
me eating cabbage blows me up like I'm 9 months pregnant.
wow.
mm,
And the bloating and the gas, and it's like I love cabbage, but cabbage does not love me.
Mhm.
So in the midst of everything, trying to eat what you're supposed to eat or trying to eat what you like, that's one of the things that I love, but I can't eat it anymore. So,
oh.
but yeah, I can do so much better without the bloating, but someone made some cabbage and I tasted it and it was really, really good. And I ate that cabbage and it's been about 4 days. Mm-mm,
Mm.
Oh.
no, don't do it.
Well, I love that because especially when someone's first kind of figuring out their relationship with the food and how to tell if the food is loving you back or not. People say this and you think you would know, like, but once we move past that, like, I can't eat that and list and stuff, but really listening to your body while you talk, the body gives us physical signs. So you
Yes.
just named one of the key ones, like bloating, like your stomach being upset, either you're really gassy, you're
Mhm,
constipated, you have diarrhea, like all those GI
Mhm.
symptoms, those
right.
gastrointestinal symptoms is a good one. I think another
Mhm,
one that people really miss, especially in our community, like I grew up in Georgia,
mhm.
right? And so we have something called the itis. I'm not going to say the whole word, but let's be real, right?
Right,
Be the because
right.
people are not going to
So
heal if
true.
we're not being real. Let's be
So true.
right? So the itis is not normal. Like it took me forever to realize like foods were supposed like physical symptoms. Foods need to give you energy, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
my one of my foods, the first one that I broke up with was cheap pizza, not bougie pizza.
Ah.
Pizza. And that's part of it. I mean, I just get so tired. I feel weighed
Mhm,
down. When I go to run, I
mhm.
feel really heavy. So, no, we're breaking up with the itis. That's not normal. Bloating, feeling really tired. So, knowing what those
Yeah,
things are, is your food making you physically, from a body perspective, is it making you feel energized?
yeah.
Is your stomach feeling good? Can you sleep well at night when you go to
Mhm,
Mhm.
bed? Are you more anxious after you eat it? A lot of these processed foods and sugars and
Mhm.
dyes make you worsen our mood symptoms. And that's a good segue into Dr. Angela from a psychological perspective or from a mind perspective. What's a food you used to love that you had to break up with, or one you tell your clients about?
Well, for me, I have to say that that question is going to be a little different. There wasn't anything that I loved that I had to break up with. I needed to introduce foods in that I wasn't
Mm,
eating. So
okay, that's
all
good.
of the things that I got introduced to when I started my intermittent fasting experience were things that I had not, like things like kimchi. I didn't think I
Mhm.
could eat that. Then I was like, I will never eat that. I actually love that right now. So those, things like Brussels sprouts growing up, I would never
mhm,
eat them. I actually know how to fix them now so that the taste helps me to tolerate them. So it
Mm,
wasn't anything I love that I had to break up with. The one thing I know my body could not tolerate, my mom said that for most of us, was dairy. So I don't do dairy because dairy does make me sick. So when I
mm,
do yogurt, it has to be an organic Greek yogurt. My body can tolerate that. Regular yogurt, milk, my
mhm,
body cannot tolerate. That made me actually physically sick. That
mm.
I just totally just took out of my diet almost 20 something years ago.
Wow, that's powerful. So you gave us a lot in here. It's even a great segue for the next time, but I want to break it down just a little bit. And to everyone watching, thanks so much for your feedback, your comments. Again, remember, Embrace You is about you. So if there's a food that you feel like you need to break up with, that you're struggling with, or you just want us to talk about, please put it in the chat. We'll incorporate it as much as we can into this discussion. And I already see Cooking Healthy on Purpose already said here that that's the thing, sometimes figuring out our taste and making it taste good. I'm in the same with Brussels sprouts and kimchi. Oh, two of my faves. We're going to talk about this. In the next section, we're going to talk about practical tips for your food breakup or for your changing your food relationship. So I'm going to share with those because those became two of my favorite too. Yeah, and so we all can talk about it. But I want to say something Dr. Angela said, because again, getting to the body part of it, when a food relationship, so milk and dairy is a big one. Look, and I hope big food don't come after me after this, but I mean, humans are really the only mammals who continue consuming milk past the age of infancy, past age 1. And one of the main issues with that is that lactase, which is the enzyme which helps us to break down the lactulose, which is the primary sugar in milk, it decreases exponentially once we're past age 1. So for many people, we don't even have the enzymes that we need. And this is even more prolific in Black people as well.
Yes.
On top of that, there's other things, the proteins like casein in milk that people are sensitive to or allergic to. There's other sugars and additives. So a lot of people can't tolerate dairy, and it can be really inflammatory to the body.
Yes.
And I know, Dr. Kina, you have overcome autoimmune disease. That's been part of your look, if y'all don't know, like, look up Dr. Kina. If you don't know Dr. Kina, if you don't know Dr. Kina or Dr. Angela, you know both of them. But like, I'm her hype woman. I'm looking here because I'm like, where's her book? Like, she has a book called Shattered Not Broken. So good. But she is like a walking miracle. But I know you talk about how anti-inflammatory foods, like giving up dairy, was important to breaking up with it. So it could be a physical reason why you need to break up with it, and that's important. Can you talk a little bit that from a medical perspective, breaking up with the foods, Dr. Keenan?
Yes, because I got to a point where, for some reason, everything seemed to kick in at the same time, and it was so much more than just the cabbage. I realized there were several, and being I am a pescatarian, so I only eat fish and vegetables, but I love every vegetable that there is. And especially, you talked about the kimchi, and, the Brussels sprouts. However, for some reason, I got to a point where there were a lot of fruits and vegetables that I could no longer eat because it was something in, like, the sugar in it that was causing me. And so I had to actually go on a different type of diet, which restricted those foods that made me have the huge bloating and the gas. And then I had to slowly introduce those good vegetables and fruits back into my diet as much as I can take. So sometimes that's the physical problem of what it physically does to you and how it completely drains you, because now you're in the bathroom, now you're doing so many things. You're trying to take gas X, and I completely had to cut out the milk. But I have been lactose intolerant for a while, so I can do coconut milk, I can do almond milk, and then I always do non-dairy cheese. And in fact, I fooled my entire family last year for Christmas, and I made some macaroni and cheese. And they always love my mac and cheese. I made the mac and cheese before anyone arrived. It was already in the pan. And I had some non-dairy milk. I had my gluten-free noodles.
Wow.
And I had veggie cheese. And everyone ate it just like they always did. Nobody even knew. And I was able to enjoy it myself instead of making it. It's like you make it and then you eat the cheese, and then of course you're in the bathroom. So, but that was what was significant for me. And it's a lot of foods that does that to me. But
wow. Look, I'm just amazed. I want this mac and cheese.
Especially when you put something on top that we probably shouldn't have. But no, you have to have the breadcrumbs, or I do the panko, and then you put a little, put it on top, and then when you put it in the oven, it gets really crunchy on top.
Wow. Wow. I
Yeah.
love that. That's good. We need, you have to release that because we're in cookout season too. We need,
Yeah.
we need
Right.
that recipe.
Right. It's time for some mac and cheese.
Oh my gosh, the chat's blowing up. Thank you so much. So Yvonne asks, what are in those drinks, or have you already covered that? We don't mind sharing that again. And then cooking healthy on purpose. Like, I love what you did that with the mac, because if they saw you make it, they would have found a problem. Exactly.
Exactly.
Let's go
Exactly.
on all this is leading into practical tips for the food breakup, right? Like, why is it so hard to break up with foods you love, and like some practical steps? And I think one of the thing is like the social pressure, right? Like, we've always ate like this. This is what everybody does. That's nasty. Black folks don't eat like that. I mean,
Yes.
honestly, for me, I really feel one of the things of embracing myself on this journey, even being on social media. I remember someone was like throwing shade. They were like, "Oh yeah, I told them to follow you, but I gave them a warning. You always post healthy stuff." And I'm like, "But wasn't elevates is good?" You know what I'm saying? So like, but then that made me kind of like self-conscious, and I was like, "But we need to change that narrative around this is what Black people eat. This is how we do it."
Mhm.
And we've already talked about one of the tips, like Dr. Keena, you talked about how you made it before they came, and you made
Right.
it delicious. You made
Yes.
it
They
delicious.
didn't know.
Taste is important. Taste is important. So people have been asking about the kimchi
Mm.
and the Brussels sprouts. Talk about two things you don't usually think about Black folk eating. Kimchi, if you don't know what it is, it's fermented cabbage. It's from Asian cultures, Korean and Chinese. They're two different versions, but they are a power food. When we're talking about your gut health and everything like that, they're superfoods. And it's really the category of food that we're missing a lot, fermented foods in the American eating habit or eating style. And it has been shown to be helpful, not just with weight loss, but with overall health. So, Dr. Nicola, you talked about falling in love with these foods. So, how did you do that?
So for me, that my why was more medical related in addition to my own mental health. So my journey began right around, so like you guys and everyone who's watching, we have probably tried every diet since I was 16, because I've always been a young girl who lived in a larger body. I am from West Virginia. All the jokes y'all want, it's probably half of them probably true, but we eat off the land. So it's a lot of fried stuff, a lot of heavy meats. And so that's what I grew up on: pork chops and applesauce. That's what I grew up on. But as a young girl, as an adolescent girl, when you're heavy and you're bigger, living in a larger body, that's some self-esteem and self-worth. And you don't know about food, and your family isn't thinking about eating healthy. We eat what our family fixes. So when I got in college, though, is where a little bit more awareness came in. Still didn't do much, but guess what? Everybody was on a diet in college. So I tried what they tried, whether it was Weight Watchers, South Beach, whatever name you want to give it, Soup Day, whatever, I tried it. But because it doesn't tell you how to eat, it just tells you what to eat, and you don't have any information. Of course, it didn't last more than probably 2 weeks, no results. My first successful weight loss transformation has been when I met you guys in 2019. And that's when I got back with my trainer. I learned so much through the platform on Clubhouse about food, about the relationship we have with food. I didn't even think about that as a therapist before that. I knew that it existed, but I hadn't put it into place for myself. So one of the things he gave me in terms of what I want you to eat and try were lots of things I hadn't tried before, and kimchi was one of them. And it became a staple for me. You don't even need to season it. It was so easy to prepare. And that's where I started shopping at healthier food stores. And it became, again, a staple for me. And for me, I don't look at this is nasty, or I don't ascribe bad or good like you've taught us, Dr. Sylvia. I just know I needed to have my gut heal, period. I didn't want to keep taking antacids. Pepto-Bismol was my family's main friend. That was in a gallon jug at our house growing up. And I didn't want to keep having those same things. And I often had stomach pains. And in graduate school, I thought it was ulcers from stress. But when I changed the way I ate, I realized, oh, now I'm feeling less distress intestinally. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's all I needed was, okay, it works.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to do what works. I don't care what it tastes like. I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to deal with it. And that was my why, because I am also a Black woman who, like many of us, have fibroids. Um, and that's a whole nother story at another time. But changing and introducing things like cabbages, like broccolis, like things like that, I had to change all of that, take out all that processed stuff, and it made a difference. So once it worked for me, that's what made me stick to it. I could deal with the taste. I mean, it's not the best taste, but I can deal with it. But in my mind, my palate changed. Not in my mind. In reality, my palate changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I could start to taste my
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
people
Mm-hmm.
should know, like gravies and sauces and all that stuff. It almost kind of takes the taste away from what real food is supposed to taste like. So when my palate changed and I could actually taste everything I was eating, I fell in love with food. That's my relationship with food story.
Oh, I love that. I
Awesome.
saw that benefit to it, and
Right.
you gave your body a chance to change the taste in food and your relationship. The chat is blowing up so much good stuff in there. Dr. Keenum, there's a few questions I think that you should be able to answer. So let's see, what kind of cheese did you use in your mac and cheese?
So one of them is I want to say it's Chao, is CHAO,
Oh,
and it comes in a smoked Gouda,
mm-hmm.
and then I can't even remember which one it is, but there's a mozzarella, and then there is a tomato cayenne. That
Mm-hmm.
is so good. And
Mm-hmm.
these all melt really well. And I mean, like, you have to do the oh my goodness, you have to do and I really don't use butter. I use like an olive oil, and I put the olive oil, and then you put
Mm.
the the flour, and then you pour the milk, and then you slowly put in the all of the cheese. So it's like you cook the cheese. Like some people make mac and cheese and they kind of put the cheese in and then put it in the oven. Well, I make the whole, I don't know what it's called, brew. I make the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing so everything is nice and completely melted. And then at the end, I add in the gluten free, the gluten free pasta. So it stays like that, and it is like so good. So I usually do, and they have a cheddar. So I usually do like to do a lot of different cheeses. So I mix a lot of different cheeses in, and then make the mac and cheese.
Love it, love it. That look, you're gonna have us all trying to make this
Mm-mm-mm.
weekend. Yeah. And then Chidere asks, is there a book similar to Eat This Not That for healthy swap out foods for Black cuisine, soul food recipes? So a great resource. And I can put these in, I'll put them in the Facebook group. If y'all come on over to the Embrace You Facebook group, I'm gonna start continue the conversation there. I'll put them in there. But the National Heart and Lung Institute have what I call a classic book on making heart healthy soul food. And then I'm also part of the Obesity Medicine Association. Diversity and Equity and Inclusion Committee, and on the board there. And we're working on creating culturally tailored menus. And so we put out one for Caribbean food and different things like that. So you can
Mm.
switch some things out. And we're working on one for Black culture. But it's hard in the US because what is really Black culture, right? There's different things. So we're working on all of those things so that there's more resources. But I want us to keep these conversations going because to Yvonne's point, I love what you said in here, Yvonne, like, culture, you are not Black. I heard it all, right? What is Black? We need to redefine thinking of Black food a certain kind of way
Right.
because, like you said, our
Mhm.
ancestors had to eat a different way
Mhm.
because of the
Mhm.
trauma that they were
Mhm.
under, right?
Right.
But
Right.
now, one of the gifts that they have given us, and it's, that can be controversial, but the given us, most of us, is that we can access better foods and we can
Yes.
have a healthier relationship with our food. So I
Absolutely.
love that we're having this conversation. Yeah. Okay, so let's keep it going. So, practical tips for a food breakup. We are already kind of getting there with that. Dr. Angela, can we? One thing I think when we're talking about it, some people said, someone said in the chat, old habits are hard to break up. Let's talk about like the mental health conditions because we haven't really talked
Mhm.
about that, and then like maybe some mindset things that we can do with breaking up with food because there's a lot of disordered eating out there and
Yeah.
eating
Mhm.
disorders, dieting. I consider that disordered eating.
Yep.
Even though it's not technically in the DSM-5, it's disorder, right?
Right.
Can you
Right.
tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, and I think that one of the things you've been sharing all along about the mindset is so significant because most of us feed our emotions with food.
Mm,
And
Mhm.
so, as a therapist myself, again, what started my journey, I always say, go back to your why, stick to your why. When the pandemic did start, where you see me is where I work from home. So, you imagine that sitting here 8 to 10 hours a day, starting very early in the morning, I
Mhm.
wasn't staying hydrated. And then I was often eating snacks. I wasn't taking time to eat real food. And I literally saw the impact of those processed snacks create all this inflammation in my body over the months. And so that alarmed me when I saw that. One day I literally was sitting here and I looked down and my ankles were so swollen. I had never held water
mm,
weight like that. And immediately I thought, okay, this isn't good. I'm starting to
Mhm.
feel foggy. I knew that I was doing too much. So the
Mhm.
other thing I say, know your body, know your habits, and know how you operate. If I never was in that position before and I started seeing myself kind of declining in some areas of my health, you know that that's not your norm. That's when you have to start looking at, okay, mentally, what am I doing? Am I paying attention to myself? Am I neglecting myself? And what am I doing about it? Because I can keep looking like this, I can keep feeling like this, or I can do something. And often we're in stressful positions, particularly women, because we do lead very overscheduled, we overfunction, whether we're waking kids up in the morning and then getting them off and fixing breakfast and taking care of our families. And so we do so much, often neglecting ourselves
mm,
because we're trying to fit everything in. So when it comes to mindset, one of the things I struggle with in helping people understand is that you do feed your emotions. And if you think that, well, I don't eat a lot, that doesn't matter because if you think it's like the calories in, calories out thing, and I would love for you to get into that, Dr. Kenny and Dr. Sylvia, because people still operate under that. I have clients who say, I can't believe I can't lose this weight, and they're not eating all day. They think because they're
yeah.
not eating. And then we talk about how stress and where you hold it in your body. And so all of this for many people is an education. A lot of
Mhm.
it's just the information of not knowing. Because of the pandemic, people were dealing with a lot of grief.
Mhm.
And what do we do with grief? We eat. We eat
Right.
around grief. We eat our emotions. We eat around stress. So
Mhm.
it's first the acknowledgement that what am I struggling with emotionally?
Hmm.
Acknowledging that, and then saying, okay, so what am I going to do about it? Do I need to see somebody? Do I need to
Yeah.
do some research? Where do I go now? And then teaching people how to access the right credible resources.
Mhm.
I love that. And I think that's the one of the biggest misconceptions to your point. We've been told that old calories in versus calories out model, which all of us, because we've gone on a journey, have seen the harms of that and see it with
Yeah.
patients, and that you can do it by yourself. And then if you're not making progress, then oh, you failed. You didn't try hard enough. And we got to really release that mindset because it's so complicated and there's so many different things going
Yes.
on there too. So thank you, Dr. Angela, and get help. Like there is no shame
Mhm.
in phoning
Exactly.
a friend. Like this community has been so beneficial
Yes.
to me and my therapist, my EFT coach, like all these people, my pastor, you
Yes.
know what I mean? My all of these people. And okay, and then I see Yvonne's in here giving us a whole dissertation on food. Yes, girl, I'm with you, Yvonne. I think I misspoke. What is black food? I'm Yvonne, I'm a foodie, but both of my parents were restaurateurs. That's the background I come from. And I'm Liberian roots, but born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. So I know what you're saying. We have a lot of Black food. And that's what I'm saying. When we're trying to put together a quick guide on
Mhm.
Black food, it's challenging because you're right. We have so much that is so diverse. It depends where you live and what to do. But the
Mhm.
point is, we can't let perfectionism be the enemy of
Mm.
progress. So we're going to put something out there and some other good resources too. If you like food history, which I can nerd out on that. There was a good one on Netflix recently called High on a Hog. It's by, I think, Dr. Jessica Smith. I hope I'm not misquoting her name, but she is an anthropologist who's done a lot of work on this as well. So, yeah, so food is so
Mm.
important, and there is so much in Black history and Black culture, and just reframing it. And there are a lot of chefs out there and people who are transforming what we think of as Black food too. So Dr. Keena, as we start working on wrapping up, let's talk about spirit, because
Mm.
both of us, we're all like classically trained
Mm.
MDs, and but we're all God girls up here.
Right.
Actually, these my and like I've been in Christian leadership since
Mhm.
13, saved since
Mhm.
time. And so one of the things I think I found in my training, and I don't know about you as a doctor, is that Western medicine, we don't talk enough about the spirit, but for healing treatment,
Mhm.
you may be able to leave the spirit out. But when it comes to healing people and healing a relationship with food, we got to talk about spirit and
Mhm.
part of it too. So I know we got like what 2 minutes, but tell people how spiritual factors can impact their eating, and maybe some tips to heal your spirit, because a lot of us are dealing with like church hurt, all kinds of
Mhm.
stuff,
Mhm.
but that does impact disconnection, isolation,
Mhm.
impact
Right.
the spirit. So tell us
Right.
that.
Right. And it almost goes back to what Dr. Angela was saying about, especially for women, because we carry that load and we don't take
Mm.
care of ourselves because we're so busy taking care of everybody else. However, one of the things like spirituality, even if it's not, your God, or,
Mhm.
realizing
Mhm.
that there is a higher being, there is someone who you can talk to. And even if you don't want to necessarily talk to God, you can use meditation. It is so powerful.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It is so powerful. Not only is it powerful to just get your mind right, it helps you to
Mm.
relax. It helps
Yes.
you get rid of that stress, because stress is such a huge factor when it comes to weight gain.
Mhm.
And we're all doing 5 million things. We running the vacuum cleaner, talking on the phone, we're washing the dishes, all at one time. So you actually taking some time out so you can do some meditation, whether you want to do
Mhm.
guided meditation, if you want to do you can just Google meditation and listen to someone walk you through meditation so that you can,
Mm.
what Dr. Sylvia always says, you can relax, you can release, you can embrace. It's like those
Yes.
that we need to do on a regular basis. And in addition to that, you can write your thoughts down. Write your thoughts down so that it's almost like talking to a therapist
Yep.
without a therapist being there. And you can write
Yep.
things down, get these things off your mind, and then you can move on and say, okay, I thought about it, I wrote it down, I'm moving forward. So those are some things that, and oh, let me not forget the power of the breath, because
Mhm.
Mm. Mm.
breathing exercises, oh my goodness. I tell
Mhm.
people, breathing exercises, you can like put yourself in a timeout, but give yourself a timeout. Like you give kids, you
I
time
like
out
it.
and you go
Mhm.
over to the corner for 15 minutes, do
Mhm.
that to yourself. Give yourself that time out and relax and take that breath, because it's like that breath may be the breath of life that you need in
Mhm.
order for you to think about what you need to do, what needs to be done, how you can move forward and never look back. That's
Yeah.
the thing, is that, keep those eyes forward and realize that this is something that you need to relax.
Mhm.
Relaxation, I mean, I just love it. And sometimes relaxation, like Dr. Sylvia and I talk about, sometimes relaxation might be going out for a run, which
Mm.
may sound kind of goofy to some people, but running helps me to relax, release, think about some things while I'm running because I'm so nice and free. So those are some of the things that I would say spirituality.
Yes. Oh, that is so good because at the essence, spirituality is connection, connection with
Yes.
higher power, if you
Hmm.
believe, but with yourself. And again, like we talked about earlier, dieting disconnects you from yourself, from your
Yes.
body's natural inclinations for food, your natural enjoyment food, and the environment around you. So, girl, we talked at the retreat about the 4 C's of spirituality. I could keep going.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So
Yes.
yes, I love them. So and then congratulations to Michelle. Michelle was just here. She took the word diet out of her vocabulary.
Okay.
Yes, and that's like one of my pillars, right, for Embrace You. Chapter 4 of the book is release. I have to go on a diet, embrace.
Hmm.
Food is fuel. So yes, congratulations to you, Michelle, and thank you
Yes.
to and Miss Pat, Dr. Kina's mama. We love Miss Pat says the spirit is where the heart is. The heart is where your love is. Yes. Thank you so much. The love of yourself will take you to the next level of victory.
Yes.
We're going to be shouted in here. Yes. And being mindful is a process. Thank you. Cooking healthy.
Hmm.
And that's what I think we really need to embrace as a process. Now, I would be remiss if we're talking about food relationships and I did not mention medical causes. Okay. So
Hmm.
thank you so much, Ellis and BDO, for putting in the links to my previous shows. We've done a lot of shows on talking about the triggers for weight gain, triggers for that, but there are a lot of medical causes that impact why we eat. Also, I would say don't ignore your cravings, listen to them. There's a biological reason and there's also an emotional reason as well. So for instance, if you have insulin resistance, poorly controlled
Yes.
diabetes, your body's not really using its glucose the way that it should. And so even though your bloodstream, your blood glucose levels, your blood sugar levels may be high, since it's not getting into the muscles and the part of the body that it needs to, you're still craving it. And
Mhm.
that's making you then want to go and eat more sugary foods, even though it's counterintuitive. So you really need to get those checkups regularly, at least once a year, and probably every 6 months. And if you have a chronic medical condition, you should be in there every 3 months, and then working with a team to take care of yourself. As Rick says, Coach Rick always says, know your numbers, right? Test,
Right.
don't test. So look, I'm quoting him. He's not even here. So, but just to remind you guys of that, so because that is so important. All right, y'all. Man, this time goes by so fast. I wish that
Yes.
we could just like we need.
It
This
really
is
does.
to have the retreat again in January, so we can talk about
We were
all
just getting
this stuff.
started.
Yes.
Right?
Well, we told them it's a process. So let's go ahead and transition to the mindset shift, okay? Because I just want to wrap this up in a neat bow. And while I'm
Okay.
doing the mindset shift, host, I want y'all to think about what are those things, the number one tip you want to leave them with. All right, so the mindset shift is when I leave you, the audience, with a key point that you can take. What are you going to release? And then what are you going to embrace as you continue your weight loss and wellness journey from an integrated body, mind, spirit perspective? So today I'm leaving you with on the topic of food relationships, releasing that phrase, I can't eat that. Let go of saying I can't, okay? Instead, we're going to embrace I can eat X. So we're adding to what we do because the study showed that dieting just does not work. Only 5% of people can maintain a diet for longer than a year. And that is because focusing on restriction only worsens your cravings and your hunger drive. So instead, focus on what you can eat and what loves you back. We talked about loving food that loves us back. What are those signs that are giving you? And honoring your body with foods that make you feel good, not while you're tasting it, but after as well.
Mhm.
And remembering that food can be enjoyable. Just because it's healthy doesn't mean it has to be nasty. We want it to taste good, okay? And get you to your goals. So I want to leave y'all with the fact to remember that it's not to release, I can't eat that, embrace, I can eat nourishing foods, and let you know that you are so
Mm.
worth it and you do
Mm.
deserve it. So
Mhm.
make that shift. All righty. Thank
Yes.
you so much. Let's go ahead and wrap up our wonderful time together with these fabulous moderators. Remember that we shared with you today that focusing on food, building a healthier relationship with food and not restricting, adding nourishing foods to your body. Maintenance is a mindset, it's not a diet, right? This is a lifestyle. I saw Michelle put down there. And taking care of your mental health and knowing what are those spiritual triggers as well as the medical or body triggers as well. And then getting help, phone a friend. No, I've
Right.
been on this journey 8 years, and I just really thank God because He always brings me different help, whether it be a workout buddy in the beginning, whether it be learning about the science of obesity, but there's always help along the journey. And you have to don't be scared, don't be shamed, reach out, ask people. I ask these ladies all the time. So as we wrap up, I want starting with Dr. Angela, remind the people who you are in case they
Okay.
join late. How can they connect with you, and what is the number one point? Like, if you see, like, I guess hundreds, thousands of patients a year, but if you could just say to everybody out there, this number one thing when it comes to food relationships, what would it be?
Okay. So I'm Dr. Angela Clack. I'm a licensed mental health professional. I am in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, but as a speaker, I can go anywhere. I can go globally to talk about mental health. So for me, to find me, I'm on IG. I am in the space of Facebook, all under my name, and on IG, Dr. Angela Clack Speaks. So the number one thing I want, this time is too short. It absolutely is too short. I'm just thinking about like all the things in my head I want to say, but I felt like the time that we've given everyone on here and who catches the replay like a quick power punch. Like we're giving you some tools and things that you can now take with you, and then you go explore and figure out which ones work for you. And so my number one tip is to develop a toolkit. So I tell my clients when they come into session, everything doesn't work for everybody, and every tool is not going to work for everything. So a hammer can't do what a screwdriver does. A screwdriver can't do what a drill does. But
Mm.
all of them have something they can do to build up our life and to take care of our mental health. And so I say, keep collecting tools. So whether you took 10 or 12 from us today, and you follow each of us, or you pick up the books that we're mentioning, you see a podcast, or you hear someone else speak, use those things and just keep building your toolkit, because something will work for something, but everything doesn't work for everybody.
Mhm.
I'm complete.
Yes, I love that. Look, she went back to
Yeah.
her clubhouse roots.
I know. I don't. That just
I'm complete.
automatic. It came out.
I know it feels like a clubhouse room. All right.
Right, right.
Dr. Kina, please let the people know who you are and how to connect with you and your number one point for
All
them.
right. So, yes, I am Dr. Kina. I'm your board certified OBGYN, best-selling author, CEO of All In Phenomenally, where I have a passion to help women who have chronic illnesses like me, who want to make lifestyle changes, learn and practice healthy habits, and basically have a better quality of life. So you can reach me on all social media platforms as Dr. Kina MD, and also Fit and Phenomenal on Facebook. And I would say that the number one thing that I would say would be to make sure that you stay in your own lane. And but what I mean by that is a lot of times we have friends that are doing things and we have friends that are exercising. It's great to have a buddy so that you can encourage each other's on your journey. However, don't compare yourself with your friends because everyone has to do it on their own. Everybody has to walk their own path. You know, don't try to compare your weight loss to someone else's. Just try to stay focused on what you're doing. And of course, you can use whatever someone else doing, propel you into whatever you want to do. But just make it up in your mind and have that self-confidence and have that self love so that you can say, I'm doing this for me and only for me.
Mhm.
And the only other thing that I want to tell you is that you can actually go to, um, oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart. Um, um, you can go to, oh my goodness, Dr. Sylvia, I've lost it, but it's something that I have on chronic illnesses,
It's
and
change.
it's actually called changepurse.life. That's it, changepurse.life, and it'll give you some tips about having chronic illnesses and how to go on from there. And I love being here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes, I was just about to say, I'm your hype girl. I was like, change my life. Change my life. I do it. But yes, thank
Thank
you
you so
so much,
much.
Dr. Angela and Dr. Keita. And it's like this is why it's so good to be alignment with people who get it. I'm like everything y'all are saying. I'm like, let's just summarize it. Embrace you, like embrace you, and that is what the whole philosophy is about out there. Because for all of us, like I said, I was in diet culture for 17 years, from the age of 15, going on and off different diets, going back and forth from one extreme to the next, and then there we just been taught, as even Yvonne said, to vilify black food and black diet and the black body and all of these things. And really it's time for us to just stop, to release all that comparison, release that misinformation, and really embrace you and really finding what works for you. And so I love that we've been able to share. And I really, actually, everyone who's been watching, y'all been so engaged in the comments. Do me a favor, type what your number one takeaway is, right? Because I could share with you, like, okay, this is the number one thing. But again, what you're going to stick to is what rings true to you in your heart. And really, that's what it comes down to. Changing your food relationship. Where do you start? You start with what is that thing that is just getting underneath your skin. Every time you eat it, you're swollen, you're bloated, you don't feel good. You're like, why did I do this to myself again? So that is going to be the thing that you say, maybe I can't give it up cold turkey. I'm not ready to do it. Like for me, it was my dessert at 3 p.m. every afternoon. And that was because I was so stressed after a long work day, right? But I would always go and have cake, cookies, whatever was in the break room, whatever was in the kitchen. And what the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I did to change in my food relationship was that I moved to a high sugar fruit. So I just went ahead and I did like grapes, mandarin, oranges, something like that. Then I went to mood food. So I did sweet red peppers, carrots, brightly cut berries, things like that. And then
Mm-hmm.
finally, almost a year, this process took a year, to the point like I was able to work on the stress. So I didn't need food to do it. But it's a process. So your number one thing, go start with that thing and just make small changes. The number one takeaway. So thank y'all so much for being here, Dr. Angela, Dr. Keena. I love y'all to life. I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful to everyone in the audience. I saw so many people I know personally, and people who are return embracers watching here. Thank you all for being back to Embrace You Hot Topics. And again, if you don't know me, I'm Dr. Sylvia Boley. I'm your integrative, innovative obesity specialist, best-selling author, and founder of Embrace You Weight and Wellness, where we help people stop obsessing over the scale, stop fearing your food, and develop a healthier relationship through a personalized approach. I want to invite all of you to join the Embrace You Facebook group. I am going to post the recipe today. That's going to be my thing of my beet smoothie. I know Yvonne asked about that. So I'll post that in the group. I made that beet smoothie. And then this is just water with frozen berries. I keep that on deck. So join us in the Facebook group. We're going to keep talking. Congratulations. And thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Cooking Healthy on Purpose. Valerie, Yvonne. Thank you, Dr. Keena, Dr. Angela. And thank you, BDO and Ellis. Appreciate y'all. Have a fabulous week. See you 2 weeks.
Okay.
Bye.